I'm Janet Johnson here today with Social Media Hangout Time, and we have an excellent guest today talking all about hashtags. His name is Dan Mazzini of Cybranding Ltd. Sorry about that, Dan. Welcome,
No
Dan.
problem.
We're excited to have you. Thank you for coming on.
Hi,
Thank you
Dan.
for inviting me.
Hey, I have a
So,
quick
hi,
question
Lisa.
for you before we even start. Have you ever been
Oh,
interviewed by a puppet?
No, actually, this is the first time, and I'm a little, you know,
Do I make
emotional about this.
do I make you a little nervous? This is
Yes, I'm
fun.
really nervous.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you on the show today. And I just want to do a little introduction that I hear that you are someone who loves marketing and psychology, that you're the
Yeah.
founder of Cybranding Ltd, and that you are also the founder of Hashtagify, which is
Yes.
a system that I have fallen in love with myself because I use it all the time for research. So, Dan, if you could just tell us a little bit more history about Cybranding and your hashtag intelligence, that would be awesome.
Okay. So let's start with the history. Okay, then. Hashtagify started more than 3 years ago now as a hobby project because I was doing something different at the time. I had a day job and I had a side project where I wanted to use Twitter to promote it. And it was the first time I learned how to use Twitter for that. And I learned about the hashtags. And I found that very interesting. And at that point, I needed a way to find the best hashtags to use to promote my project. The problem was that I didn't find any good tool to do that. So after studying the subject a little, I came out with an idea. I said, wouldn't it be really cool if we could see from one hashtag, from one starting hashtag, which are the top related hashtags, and then navigate that to find the best hashtags for your use. Because sometimes you know where to start, but you don't know what hashtag is really the best one for you. And so from that, I started creating this website, Hashtagify Me, which at first it was a simple website, but with this cool feature that lets you search for a hashtag and find the top related hashtags. Uh, as we went on, I started adding some more features, but it was just a hobby project. After some time, I was contacted by people who said, this is really cool, but don't you have a professional version? Because I would like to be able to do this, to do that, and so on. And at that point, I started studying with them what would they need. And the idea for Cybranding and hashtag intelligence, which is a tool not just to search for hashtags, but to get deeper intelligence about a given hashtag, was born. So I started creating that website, this new tool, while still employed in a day job. And last year, the thing was growing enough so that I decided to make the leap of faith. And I left my day job, I raised some money, and I started working full-time on Cybranding Limited, and both Hashtagify and Cybranding.
nice. I like
So to
the
make it short,
story. Yeah, love it, love it.
yeah.
Because it's also a unique story showing entrepreneurship and how to build something while you're still working, but then you're able to leave that day job. Love it.
And it definitely takes guts to do that too. I've done that, and
Yeah.
it is sometimes you like you said, have to take that leap of faith. Good for you.
Yes, really. Thank you. Yes, really. Especially when you have a family already.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's great. And
But
we have a lot of listeners that are entrepreneurs, so that's a
yes.
great story to start with. And so let's talk a little bit more about Hashtagify. First off, I have to read you. This came across my Facebook this morning, and I thought it just fits so perfectly. So I want you to talk about a little bit before we get into your tool, exactly what you would say to the people that really don't understand hashtags. And this one is kind of funny. It was a little cartoon character that says,
Yeah.
it's an old lady, and she says, "I'm so old, I remember when a hashtag was called a pound sign. And before that, we played tic-tac-toe on that SH blank. I don't know. I don't need to, but it was a swear word. Anyway, but I thought it was funny because it's like, I still want to call it pound sign. You know, I mean, so what do you say to the people that aren't even familiar with hashtags, or they just don't understand? Everybody's familiar now, but they don't get it.
Yeah. This is an interesting question, of course. Depends, a lot of. If your granny uses Twitter, it is much easier to explain to her. If she doesn't even use that, it's not so easy. But basically, the way I try to explain it is this. Let's say that you have a conversation, but the room is full of people having many different conversations. So how can you find what is the group who is talking about the subject you are interested into? Hashtags are a way, as it is as if you appended, a sign saying, here we are talking about this, here we are talking about the World Cup, here we are talking about marketing, we are talking about Italy, and so on. And this, the way to create a sign like this on Twitter and many other social media is the hashtag. So when you see a hashtag, it means, okay, I have an intention to show that this word is special. This word is about the topic of what I'm talking about. So you can have many words, or on Twitter, not so many words because you are very limited. So every character counts on Twitter, and they found this very effective way to show what should be the topic you're talking about. And I don't know if you know about this, but hashtags actually were originated from chat rooms. Did you know?
I'd heard that before, yes.
Yes,
but
I did. And
mm-hmm.
That was programming speak, because the programmers, when they did this, that deep, dark programming where they had the black screen and the yellow letters, it was a search tool for them during their program. That's how they pulled up their strings of content.
Yeah, also that was also a way. But at the beginning of the internet, one of the big tools to connect with other people was called IRC, Internet Relay Chat, which was a way to chat in real time with people. It was text only, of course, not like now where we can speak and see each other. And you would create rooms to speak, and the name of the room was practically a hashtag. A hashtag was a word starting with the pound symbol. So somebody, I don't remember his name right now, but he's pretty famous. Somebody, when Twitter was new, said, "Why don't we start using the same convention here and characterize what we say using the hashtag?" With the very big difference that while in the rooms in relay chat, you could already be in one room with one message at a time. You can use many hashtags in the same message on Twitter, and this creates lots of confusion because one of the big mistakes that many people do is that they hashtagify too many words, and this makes everything too confusing.
That's a good point. Great point. Well, let's get into your product. Let's go ahead and screen share so that we can see exactly how this works. And I'm going to go ahead and lock your screen. And if you want to go ahead and screen share.
Very cool.
Yes, absolutely. Did you get it?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so Hashtagify, you can use it as a research tool. You can use it for many different uses, but basically it is a hashtag search tool. So what it means is that you, for example, let's say that for the first time you want to tweet about the World Cup. Okay, I will use this because it was a very big event. It's just finished, and maybe many people, especially in the US, didn't know so much about the words you would use about the World Cup. And you could start from one starting point. For example, let's just write World Cup. Of course, you would need to not enter any space because spaces are not accepted in hashtags.
Great
I will
point.
search for this. Yeah. And so the tool shows me what are the top hashtags related to my search. We have two main ways to show this. So this is the one I like the most. It is the original way. The Hashtagify was born out of this idea of very, interactive visual way to show this, because you can see at the center the word you searched in red, and then the top 10 related hashtags are all around, and you can see from the size of the ball, which contains the name, how popular that hashtag is, and from the thickness of the connection between the original hashtag and the connected hashtags, how much they are correlated. It means how often are they used together. So for example, okay, here you don't see a very big difference, but for example, World Cup and Brazil, you see it is a little thicker than World Cup and Col, which is for Colombia. So for example, we already learned that people who want to talk about World Cup matches, they wouldn't use the full name mostly for the nations participating in the World Cup, but they would use these abbreviations. So for example, for Brazil, we can see BRA. For the Netherlands, we can see NED, and so on. So you would already learn that if you want to talk about the Netherlands in the World Cup, you would be better off using the abbreviation NED, N-E-D, instead of writing, for example, Netherlands, or I don't know, Netherlands World Cup, or whatever. If you want to go even deeper about that, you just click on NED here. Okay, and you can see what are the top related hashtags for that hashtag. So for example, you can see that Netherlands and Argentina, or Argentina, how do you pronounce it in English? I don't remember. They are very, very connected because there was this big match between them. So this is useful as an example because it is very easy to understand why are they so connected, because it was a big match, and of course there were millions of comments on Twitter about this match, and so the connection between Netherlands and Argentina is very strong. You can also, if you hover here over Argentina, you can see that the correlation was 28.8%. It means that 28% to almost 29% of the tweets using Netherlands also used Argentina as a hashtag. And this is how you find what are the top related hashtags.
I love how you have the thickness of the lines that connect each hashtag. I had not realized that before, so that's a great tip.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Yes, the great way, I like visualizations. So this is also why this tool exists, really. But I also know that they're not always intuitive. So this is why, for example, we created this new table mode. This is pretty recent, I think. It has like 4 months only, where you can see the same data in a less beautiful, I would say, but more conventional and easier to read way. So for example, now I see the top rated hashtags in a table where you can read the popularity of each related hashtags. You can also sort by popularity. You can see the correlation and sort by correlation. And you can also see the weekly trend and the monthly trend. And this can be useful because, for example, sometimes you can find a hashtag which is very popular, but actually it is not. Okay, one explanation is important. The data you see on a Hashtagify Me is sampled, in that it has been sampled in years. Okay, because to get the information about millions of hashtags, right now we have information about almost 34 million hashtags. To get all this information, we couldn't examine all the tweets which are sent. We only examined 2 billion and 500 million tweets. So to get this information in this time and keep the tool free, of course, we cannot examine every tweet that is sent. And so sometimes it is very important to learn about the trend of your hashtags. For example, you could find 3 hashtags which are equally popular right now, but you could find out that one is trending strongly. For example, you can see Germany here. It is plus 12.6 in the weekly trend and plus 27.3 in popularity in the monthly trend. While, for example, Belgium, okay, here it is not very significant. It is just because Belgium went out of the World Cup very recently. But in other situations, wouldn't be so obvious. While Belgium, for example, was trending positively in a monthly trend, plus 25, but in the last week, it went down 27 points. So as you can see, you can find lots of information here. And if you want to know even more about the trend, I will explain this and then leave. I will wait for your questions. You can go to this tab, which we call usage patterns. So this is very useful because it shows you the popularity for the last 8 weeks, the last 2 months. So for example, you can see that for NED, NED, we had almost no popularity 6 weeks ago, before the start of the World Cup. Then all of a sudden, it was shot up to 80, a popularity of 80. We measured the popularity. All the measures here are relative to the most popular hashtag in the world, and it is the popularity is between 0 and 100. So the most popular hashtag in the world would have 100. 80 is a very, very high rating. So it shot from 10, which is almost nothing, to 80, all in 1 week, because of course the World Cup started.
Yes.
And then it went a little down, a little up. And so it is funny because you can see basically how much that particular nation in this situation, how much that particular nation was tweeted about. So you can imagine, for example, if you have a social media event, if you have a marketing event, if you have any other situation, this can be useful to get an idea about how things are going in time. For example, if we go back to our World Cup hashtag, you can see that it also had a shot up when the World Cup started, but it was already starting from a pretty high point. Okay, this is normal because of course World Cup is a big. It was the big subject also before the World Cup itself. So, for example, what is better, World Cup or World Cup 2014? If we click here again, we can see, for example, the usage pattern. But we can also do something more. I don't know if you noticed this one, because we try to keep, what we show is enough, not too cluttered. But there are many things that you only see. For example, if you start comparing this hashtag, I can choose, for example, World Cup, and then Net and Netherlands, and I can see a comparison of the trend.
That is fabulous.
Okay. So this way you can compare the trend between these different hashtags. So basically, we try to give in this website all the useful information that we can get for free from Twitter itself, that are useful to choose which hashtags are more useful, can be more useful for your situation. Last thing I will show here, because it fits perfectly well in what we are doing now, is that if you register for free, you can also save. For example, now I found 4 hashtags which are interesting for one subject, which is the World Cup. Okay, let's say that I want to refer here to this bundle, as we call it, later in time, and I would like to compare in 1 month how these trends changed. I can do it easily because I can click the plus button here, I can give a number, a name to this bundle, for example, World Cup, with a lot of fantasy. And now it has been saved. So if I go to my bundles here, open my hashtags, okay, sorry, World Cup. Okay, it worked in a funny way because I already had a bundle named World Cup. But for example, I had created this other bundle some time ago, World Cup 2014. So if I click on it, we can see here what are the hashtags I had added. I can also change these and so on. But most importantly, if I double click on it, it will open that bundle here, and I can see what happened from last time I saw it.
Ooh. Okay.
I have a question for you, if that's okay.
Yes, of course.
Are the news channels and people at the news and TV stations, are they using this tool? I would think it would just be an awesome tool for finding out relevant news and things like that.
Yeah, some of them, for example, we have a write-up from, I mean, we were not really a write-up. We were cited, for example, by, oh my God, I don't remember the name, news channel from Texas. We can see that in our, but anyway, yes, some of them are using us, but you know, this is a free tool, and I don't know why. I mean, many people use it. Not everybody knows about this. Even if
right.
I think I can say, in my opinion, you can say pretty safely that among the free analysis tool for hashtags, we are the most complete. Okay. Then there are paying tools which are more complete, and maybe media channels use also these tools, but they can have pretty steep prices. So they are not for most of us. Okay.
Small businesses.
And yes, it makes sense. So for example, I was saying, as I was telling you, these are all sample data. With some other tools, you can get complete data. Also, with our paid tool, you can get complete data. But with those tools, you can get a lot of complete data and do very deep analysis, but for very, very high prices. We are talking about tens of thousands of dollars. Okay.
This is a perfect tool for a small business. It's perfect for that.
You know, can you talk a little bit about the use of it? Like, so for Kimmy, the salon owner, who's looking to use this tool, she wants to figure out what hashtags to use. What would you suggest to them? Like, how are they going to use this in their social media?
Okay, there are a couple of ways. So first of all, there are maybe two different situations which are pretty typical. One is you want to piggyback on some existing hashtag. This is the most common situation. And in this situation, for example, let's say that you are launching a new blog about cooking. Okay, so what I would do is I would start looking for interesting hashtags about cooking. So I would start from the obvious one, which is cooking. Okay, and then I would see what are the top rated hashtags and their relationships. So for example, food has a very strong correlation with cooking, recipe a bit less strong. You also have USA and Canada, which, I mean, correlation is not so strong, but they are very big hashtags, of course, recipes and so on. And then I would go on and on. For example, I would look for recipes and food recipes, and I would try to find the hashtags which are big enough but also specialized enough. Because if you find some hashtags which are very, very big but very generic, maybe they're not the best for you, because your message will be will get drowned by all the conversations, all the noise that is going on, and also by all the the spam that is going on. So I would try to find some hashtags which are as specific as possible while still being big enough for me. So for example, to give you some numbers, they should be above 30, 35 points in our rating, in our popularity rating, but they should be specific enough. And at that point, I would start, the most obvious thing is that you start using your hashtags when you share your content, supposing you have interesting content to share. The second step I would do is that I would try to find the influencers in my space. This is also true, this is also good if in the other situation I wanted to talk about, which is when you already have your campaign going. So for example, you already have your own hashtag. So when you have your own hashtag, your needs are a bit different, but you also need to find other hashtags because you should use your own hashtag together with some other hashtags which are related, because those hashtags which are related will have many followers, many people who use them and follow them, which will be interested in your content. So also if you use your own hashtag, if you're launching it, for example, for an event, sometimes, or even very often, you should also use some other hashtags between 2 and 3 in total. So your hashtag plus 1 or 2 other hashtags, which are related to your field of interest. And so this is one way to share your content. The other big way to do that is to find the top influencers in your space and learn which ones of them are interesting. So for example, if one big influencer is CNN and you are a small business, most likely they are not interesting for you because you will trying to reach them will be a moonshot. It is almost impossible that they will retweet you and so on. So you should try to find the influencers which are within your reach, but as big as possible and in your reach. Okay, and you should try to study them, find out what ticks them, and then you should try to connect them. So here, this is, in my opinion, the most rewarding and the longer, how to say, it takes enough work, I will be honest, but it will give you the bigger boost in the long term, medium long term, okay? So to do this, you can start from this website because we already have a top influencers screen which will show you the top 6 influencers for one hashtag. Now, the problem is that if the hashtag is not very, very big, if the hashtag has changes in time, as I was telling you, all the data on Hashtagify Me is, and the sample, considering the incredibly big level of activity on Twitter, is pretty small, is below 1%. So if you have a specific hashtag, for example, I don't know, social media Los Angeles, let's say, which could be big in Los Angeles, but on a global scale will be incredibly small.
Right.
If the situation is this, the sampling we have here is not very good. Just because, if you have one hashtag in 1,000 and that one tweet in 1,000, and that hashtag is used in one tweet in 10 million, because this is the numbers we are talking about, we will have very few hashtags collected for getting the top influencers. So this is one of the reasons why we created our other offer, which we call Hashtag Intelligence. I will click here. You will allow me to show basically, okay, now I'm signed in, so I will go back because this is not what I wanted to show you. Okay. If you click our in-depth intelligence, just one second, please. Okay, I cannot show you this right now. Never mind. I will explain with my words.
Okay.
Anyway, if you click in-depth intelligence, you will have a short presentation about our professional tool, which is called in-depth intelligence. And with this tool, what you do is that you track some specific hashtags. So let's say you already found what are the hashtags that you are really interested into, either because it is your own hashtag, you are doing a campaign there, or because you found out that in your field the most interesting hashtags. So they are big enough, but they're also specific enough. Are, for example, social media Los Angeles. Okay, I have no idea if this hashtag is good at all, but I will just keep it as an example. So at that point, you could start using the hashtag, tracking the hashtag. You can do, Twitter searches. You can see, for example, here what we show to give you an idea what the hashtag is about is top recent tweets of that hashtag. So you can get, a real feel how are they using it. There are also some other information. So for example, you can see here what are the top languages used for this hashtag. So for example, for Mundial 2014, you would see that the top language is Spanish Castilian. So most likely, if you're interested in English-speaking people, you would not use that. And you can also see when it is used, the top days and timing in the week. I will not go into detail here. And then when you have this information, you can start studying the top influencers. So let's say you found your ideal 1 or 2 hashtags, and you want really to know about the top influencers. One way to do that is simple. You connect to Twitter, you do your searches, and you see who tweets the most, who is retweeted, what they talk about, and so on about that hashtag. But that is very, very time-consuming. An easier way to do that is to start tracking this hashtag using our tool, Hashtag Intelligence. I have an example here for you, which is, for example, brand chat. Do you know about Twitter chats?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So maybe some people, some of the followers will not know about brand chat, but I will do this very quickly. As I was telling you, this is a bit funny for me because hashtags were born from the inspiration of internet-related chats, so from chat rooms. And one of the big uses of hashtags is actually to have real-time chats on Twitter. How do you do that? You choose a name for your hashtag, which is unique. Very often, the name contains the word chat in the name itself. For example, brand chat, of course, is a chat about branding. And you tell people, okay, we will be talking about brands on Twitter at a given time, day and time. And so people will be online at that time, and you can have your conversation in real time on Twitter. Very often there will be hosts and there will be guests right now, as we are doing now. And the good people, the nice thing is that other people on Twitter can intervene in the conversation just using the hashtag. So for example, brand chat is a pretty big, not the biggest, but a pretty big chat about branding. So let's say that you want to, I don't know, you want to launch your new book, which is about branding, and you want to use Twitter. Very likely, a good starting point could be this chat. So of course, with Twitter chats, it is very important that you know about, you have to know that it is a Twitter chat because they have different usages, and you need to learn how to use it, when to use it, and so on. So for example, when is this chat held on? You can see it here. You can also see the same data on Hashtagify me. And you can see that it is almost always used on Thursdays in, for example, let's say you can choose your timing. So for example, GMT -6 at 21, at 9 p.m., it is the time when most of the people use this. Simply because being a Twitter chat, it has a timing. So almost everybody uses that at that time. There will be also other people using at other times, for example, to do announcements and these kind of things. But you can understand that this is a Twitter chat if you didn't notice from the name, which is brand chat. You could find that out just seeing these days and times of usage. Okay, So I will try to be quick because I know we don't have so much time. What I wanted to show you, we have a lot of information which is useful if, for example, you are if you are launching your own hashtag. But launching your own hashtag does not only make sense if you are big enough, if you have a team, if you have ways to promote it and so on. So it is not for most people. What is instead for most people who are on Twitter is that you want to share your content, share your messages, and you want to connect with great people who can help you sharing it. I suppose that you have good content, otherwise this wouldn't make much sense. But if you have great content, you can try to connect with bigger influencers than yourself, and you can get in contact with them. This takes time, but if you have great content, if you are good at connecting with them, it is absolutely possible that they will start sharing what you have. So for example, when you tweet and you use all your alt-right hashtags, it is absolutely possible that the people who have more influence than you, that you are well known, and so have many people going after them, they are very busy and so on, they could not notice what you share just from the hashtag. So at this point, it would make a lot of sense that you started, for example, following these influencers, and you started sharing their content, and you started making comments on their content. The comments should be not spammy. They should be, you know, as much as possible original, and they should add to the conversation. So at the same time, you use the hashtag they use, and you are useful to them because you add to their conversation. If you do this, very likely, unless they are, you know, institutional or too big influencers, like for example, I was making the example CNN or the White House, okay, you're not going to be noticed. That would be not a very good strategy. But if you start tracking people who are bigger than you but not too big, you could try to connect with them. So how do you find them? As I was telling you, you could do it by hand. You just use Twitter, you start following the hashtag, you'll read a lot of tweets, and you will find out who are the most listened to people who are the point of reference for the community. Or you can use one tool like our hashtag intelligence tool, which will do this for you. So for example, for brand chat, we are showing here, we have many different plans. The basic plan starts at $9.90 per month, and it will show you the top 10 influencers for your hashtag. This is not sample data. This is based on 100% of tweets sent using your hashtag. So for example, for this tweet, for this hashtag, not surprisingly, there is one account which is called Brand Chat, which is the top influencer, because this is, you know how this works. So this is the they created Twitter user especially for this chat. So it will be the official account for the chat. So it is also the top influencer, even if it is not the influencer with most followers, because as you can see, for example, this Maria Duron is bigger, has more followers. You can see from the size, again, from the size of the circle, has more followers than Brand Chat. But Brand Chat will be, for example, more retweeted. It will tweet more, and we keep all this information in mind when we try to understand who are the top influencers.
Sure, and so that's really, you know, the basis of influence is the value of a tweet and the value of the content that they're putting out. It doesn't matter really how many followers they have, but who is actually retweeting them and what their hashtags are.
Absolutely.
You have just tons and tons of information here. I think.
Yes,
I mean,
sorry.
really, I don't want to overwhelm our audience because I think there's just so much value with your tool that you know, we should talk about doing a follow-up call where we can do some more deep dive on that.
Yes, maybe you can notice that I'm passionate about this, so I'm sorry
Absolutely.
if I really started going.
You know what? It's such great information. I mean, you know, like you were just talking about, this is such a great tool to find out the proper hashtags to use, the proper how to use them, how to find influencers. It's crazy. I mean, and the thing is, like you just said, you can do it manually or use your tool, and it will save you tons of time. And then you're really going to know and be able to target in and hone in on it. So, unbelievable. I mean, it's amazing information. I just love it. I love it. So I think at this point, what would you say would be the best thing? Just a quick for people to get started. What would you say the best thing to do with your tool in the next 24 hours to take action? And actually,
are you referring to Hashtagify me?
Yes, yes. And I'm going to actually, can you go ahead and off screen share so that we can have you back on for a minute?
Sorry? Oh, I will stop the screen sharing.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay.
And then we'll, yeah, no problem.
Hi again.
There you are.
There we go.
Perfect. So what would you say the next 24 hours for our listeners to take action? I mean, obviously just playing around with your Hashtagify would be, you know, one thing. What would be the number one thing, real quick, that they could take action on?
Yes. Yes, okay. It will be this. Okay. For sure, you will be interested in one or more subjects. So the first thing I would do is I would make a list of the top keywords out of the top of my head that are, in my opinion, related to my subject or subjects. A short list or a longer list, it depends how much you want to devote to this. And they can also be composite keywords. So for example, cooking in Los Angeles or something like that, cooking Los Angeles and so on. And then I would go to Hashtagify me and I would start searching for this, for the hashtags for those words. And I would notice, I would write down what are the top hashtags among those which I selected. So for example, some of them will be big hashtags, some of them will be very, very small hashtags because people are not using them. And I would notice what are the top related hashtags, because this will show you if what you found, because for example, one hashtag, if you look at very generic words like USA, for example, they could be a very big hashtag, but they could really not be related to what you are interested into. So looking at what are the top related hashtags, you will find if it is in your field or not really so. So I would find top hashtags in my field. Starting from those words, you also click on the top related hashtags, and you can navigate from them. You can browse the related hashtags and find which other are the top related ones. And so I would create a list of hashtags which are more specific, less specific, bigger, less big, that you can use in your next tweets. So the next time you're going to tweet in one specific field, you can use one or two of the hashtags you found.
Great.
And you can alternate them. So if you have not just one hashtag, but let's say 5, 6 hashtags in your field, this is useful because you shouldn't use always only the same hashtag. So depending how serious you are about this, if you work a lot on this field or not, you can also start using some hashtags a lot, and you start creating connections with the top influencers. So the next step would be find the top influencers, learn about them, don't pester them, don't think that they will right away start retweeting your content, because they will need to get to know you, get to know that you're not a spammer, that you are an addition to the community, and then you connect with them, and you create these connections, and then you start to use these connections to get your content and your influence spread around and increased.
That's great. Great. Okay, so Simple, start with a list, and then use your tool to dig deeper. Perfect.
Yes.
And I'm going to have Kimmy finish up with a couple things.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Dan, we really appreciate all your time today. I took a ton of notes. I have lots of information. So the best place to connect with you, I'm assuming, is at Hashtagify. Is that correct? Is that where you want them
Yes,
to go?
if you want.
Okay.
If you want, yes, absolutely. You can find our tool on Hashtagify. Otherwise, you can connect with me directly using the @danmaz74 Twitter account.
Okay. Sounds
This
great.
is my personal account, but it is not secret, so you can write me there, or even to dan@cybranding.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Dan. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Lisa and Janet, and thank you really for the opportunity.
Thanks.